Madam President, Americans have come together in this moment. We've come together to defeat the coronavirus. We've come together to ramp up testing, to ramp up health care, and to reopen our communities and our country. The coronavirus has brought out the best in so many ways in America and in the American people. From our frontline health care workers taking care of patients, to scientists and researchers working on testing, on treatment, and on vaccines, to those in public service keeping essential parts of the government running day in and day out, to those working on supply chains to deliver goods 24 hours a day, and to those who are staying at home to keep themselves and keep others safe. Americans are in this together. Madam President, it's interesting because all we're seeing from the other side of the political aisle is more of the same old politics and name-calling. President Obama is taking cheap shots at President Trump. Speaker Pelosi just put out a $3 trillion bill that reads like the Democrat Party platform, and Joe Biden is holed up and hiding in his basement. Is this the best that Democrats can offer? Is this the best that they can do? Madam President, Biden, Obama, and Pelosi should be embarrassed. This is not leadership. Republican policies in the CARES Act that we passed actually have had significant results, real results. The Paycheck Protection Program, making sure 50 million Americans are still getting their paychecks. Economic impact payments, which are reaching 130 million families. Now, these are policies that are going to build a bridge for the country to get to the other side of the devastation done by the virus. And still more money and resources from the CARES Act are slated to go out to states, to hospitals, and to small businesses all across America. Altogether, between Congress and the Federal Reserve, we've injected close to $9 trillion into the economy in just a couple of months. And all of this money is nowhere close to having even been spent. In fact, it's only because of the steps that we've taken already, the efforts of governors across the country, the work of this administration, and that the House Democrats have found themselves in a position, as they were last Friday, of wasting time and energy on a fantasy bill. Republicans now have two jobs. The first is to get the country back on track, and the second is to not allow the Democrats to try to exploit the crisis that is upon this country for their own political gains. Democrats are pushing their agenda as a cure-all for the virus. Let me be clear, Madam President, it is not. It is simply a solution for their electoral problems. Yesterday, the New York Times published a front-page article. Online, it was called "Seeking Big Democratic Ideas That Make Everything Better." In the printed copy, they changed the headline to say, "Biden pursues ideas to match scale of crisis. Left senses an opening for a bolder agenda." Madam President, the article goes step by step on how the pandemic is being used by the Democrats to make sweeping changes in their policy platforms in their effort to remake America, basically consistent with their dangerous democratic socialist views. They are planning, according to this, to get rid of their so-called center-left policies that they had initially envisioned. They're now courting what they call left-wing allies. They are adopting the ideas of single-payer health care, one-size-fits-all health care, the government making decisions for you rather than you or your doctor making decisions for yourself. They're adopting ideas through labor unions, liberal think tanks, progressive institutions. They have taken over the Democrat Party, and they are all beholden to Nancy Pelosi. Madam President, Democrats are using the coronavirus so that their favored groups get a giveaway. That's what it reads when you take a look at that $3 trillion bill that Nancy Pelosi dragged across the floor of the House last Friday night, with members of her party kicking and screaming about voting for it. That's what we see. And some were kicking and screaming because the $3 trillion bill that started as a $1.5 trillion bill didn't get big enough, didn't include enough of their far left socialist agenda. This is not a solution for the crisis facing America. That is not a solution for the crisis that we're facing with coronavirus. It's not a solution that we're facing with the crisis of a shut-down economy, shut down by the government in an effort to protect ourselves from the disease. Oh no, Madam President, what we see here is a partisan political playbook. It is the Democrats' agenda for the 2020 election. Madam President, the efforts to get the coronavirus behind us and get our communities in our country opened must be targeted, must be temporary, and must be tailored to the needs of our communities at this critical time in our nation's history. Because ultimately, Madam President, it is time now for America to open swiftly and smartly and safely. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.